Great. So at Fizzin, we know that as an SME owner, you don't necessarily always have the budget for extreme marketing. So we're just going to show you how to do pretty much all of these basics for free. Perfect. So once again, easy graphic design for SME owners. We're just going to go through the basics of Canva and etc. etc. So my name's Callan. For those of you who don't know, I am an accounts manager here at Fizzin. And then on that other screen over there, we have Dom.
Hi guys, I'm Dominique Binns. I am the CEO and co-founder of Fizzin, and thanks so much for giving up a portion of your Saturday morning to be here. We know it's quite early, so I just congratulate your dedication to learning and upskilling yourself, because that's fundamental as an entrepreneur. So I'm Dominique. I am, like I said, the co-founder of Fizzin. Fizzin is all about offering super affordable digital services to SME owners, because we know that as a startup, as a small business, or even a medium business, you don't necessarily have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands lying around. You maybe have a couple K. So we tailor to that need in the market. We do everything from blog writing to graphic design, logo design, web dev, social media marketing, you name it, we do it. And I'm just really, really passionate about helping SME owners and helping them grow and market and scale their businesses, because there's only so many businesses I as an individual can start. So helping lots of different people, it's sort of like helping my own businesses. Okay, great, back to you, Kay.
Thanks, Dom. So as I said in the beginning, we're just going to be going through the basics of Canva. Dom's going to take us through the basics of design. And then at the end, we have this really awesome treat where we're going to go through a live logo creation and a live social media post creation that you guys can watch. Perfect. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the wonderful things that free Canva has to offer. So for those of you who've never heard of or used Canva before, it's a really cool graphic design software that's aimed primarily at beginners and intermediates. However, the paid version does have some features for the advanced designers. Most agencies, including Fizzin, use the advanced Canva just to do some of their designs. Perfect. So this is pretty much what your home screen is going to look like as soon as you've signed up for your account. So if you head over to the left side over there, we're going to see a menu with some really cool features that you can use. So the first feature you can see, it says all your designs, and this is pretty much the place where everything you create will automatically get saved to. Next up, we have all your folders. So this is sort of Canva's little filing system where you can create a folder to save your specific designs, make it easier to find later. After that, pretty self-explanatory, we have trash. Okay, so everything you delete will get saved in trash. That's what a trash can is for. And then you can either choose to restore it or delete it permanently. So don't worry if you accidentally send something to trash, you can always get it back. Cool, so now if we take a look over to the top menu we have over there, you can see there's this little thing called templates. And this is pretty much Canva's giant library of everything. So if you're feeling a little bit of creative block, maybe you just want some inspiration, some ideas, or you just want to see what Canva has to offer, what you can do on Canva, you can come over to the section and check out some really cool templates. Next up, you can see Canva has this little button called Learn. So this is pretty much just a few little short courses that Canva has to offer. You can take these little short courses, learn more about how to use Canva and Canva's features, and just improve your skills. Then next up we have pricing. So once again, we're just going through the free one. However, you can upgrade to Pro if you feel like you want to go a bit more advanced with your designs, or maybe you feel that free Canva just doesn't have everything that you're looking for. Perfect. So let's now go ahead and check out the designing side of Canva. So we'll click on that little create button over there, and you'll see it comes up with a bunch of cool little templatey options you can choose from. So these little presets or templates pretty much have those set dimensions for that specific design that you're looking to do. So for example, if you want to do a business card, you can simply search for a business card, and Canva will give you the exact dimensions of a business card. Alternatively, if you would prefer to create your own custom size, or you have a specific size that Canva is not offering, then you can click on that little plus custom size and input your dimensions. Unfortunately, Canva does not let you go below 40 pixels. Anything smaller than that is just a little bit too small for Canva to work with. Cool, so let's go ahead and click on logo and get in with some more of the little design nitty-gritty side of things. Cool, so the first thing you can do is rename your design. This will help make it so much easier to find later, especially once you've got a lot of designs going on. It's just a lot easier to have everything named and organized. Perfect, once you've done that, you can see on the left, once again, little menu, we have templates. So same as I said previously, if you are having a little bit of writer's creative block, or you just don't know what to do, you don't know where to start, you can just come over, click on some templates and design away. Unfortunately, if you look over there by the little mouse, if it has a crown, it means it is only for the pro version. You can either sign up for a 30-day free trial if you'd like, or you could just go ahead and buy that little design individually and it's yours to keep. Cool. So next we have elements. So elements, this is pretty much everything, every little nitty-gritty little design that is going to make up your picture as a whole. So the first thing over there is lines and shapes. Canva has a wide variety of shapes and lines you can choose from. Really, really cool. Next up is graphics. So these are the little pictures you can put into your design to make it a bit more lively, a bit more creative, fun. Anything, pretty much anything you're looking for, you could probably find on Canva. Next up is photos. So if you want a more human touch to your pictures, you just want it to look a bit more professional, you can go ahead and choose from a bunch of stock photos. And then the same with videos and audio. Canva has pretty much all of it. Anything you can think of to create, you can pretty much do it on Canva. Cool, then next up, if you do have your own images or videos that you would prefer to use, you can just come over to upload media and input it in. Alternatively, if you would like to record yourself and just plug that straight into your design, you can just record yourself and it saves you time from having to upload a video and wait for all of that. Cool, then the next one you see over there is text, and pretty self-explanatory. This is just putting text into your design. You can either choose from a bunch of different fonts, or you can go ahead and use one of these free templates. Once again, if it does have that little crown, that simply means that it is only for the pro version. However, you can purchase it if you really, really want it. You can also search for some texts. There's, like I said, many, many different fonts. You can do first cursive, calligraphy, all of that stuff. You could probably find it on Canva. Cool, so let's go ahead and put a little shape, and you can move it around. And if we wanted our shape to be in a certain position, you just move it around, follow Canva's little guidelines. However, an easier alternative to repositioning is just go to position, click on wherever you'd like it, and Canva will pretty much automatically just put it there for you. Super duper easy. Cool, so next up, say we didn't really like this gray, we wanted to change our color of our square. You head over to that little color block, can click on it, and Canva gives you a variety of default colors to choose from. However, if you do not like any of those default colors, you can just head over to our little rainbow square, use the color picker, select a color from our little rainbow, or if you have a specific Pantone that you would like to use, you can just type that in and there you go, you have your color. Cool, so next up, animate. So if you would like your picture to have a little bit of movement, a little bit of fun, some spunkiness, you can animate it and just give it some liveliness. Unfortunately, the free option only gives you 6, but like I said, you can purchase them once off if you would like to use the pro version. Cool, so next up is transparency, those little checkerboard over there. This is if you want to create something sort of as an overlay, or if you want a background picture to stand out a little bit more, or maybe you just want to soften the graphic that you're using, you can go ahead and just change the transparency. Cool, so now all of that is done, and if you would like to save your design, you just click on download, and you can pretty much choose your formats that you'd like to download it in. So if you are just downloading a picture, your best option is PNG. It's the best one to go for. And if you have movements on your little design, you can either choose to download it as an MP4 video or perhaps a GIF. So for those of you who don't know, the difference between MP4 video and a GIF is that a GIF is pretty much just a very, very short video clip that is played on a loop constantly. There is no sound. You can't put sound in a GIF. Whereas with a video, it is pretty much the exact opposite. You can have sound. It can be as long as you want it to be, and it does not play on a loop. Cool. So if we just select that, click download, and you can see over there it is downloading, and it'll be yours to keep. Great. Now we are going to switch over to Dom, and she's going to take us through the basics of design.
Hi guys, so for everyone who's joined in the interim, I'm Dominique, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Fizzin, and I'm going to be taking you through the 5 basic graphic design principles. It's so important to not only understand how to practically design, but to also understand how to use the theory to make your designs look the best they can possibly look. So we're going to take you through 5 basic principles. These are going to be color scheme, font scheme, hierarchy, size and scale, and finally composition. Don't worry if these words sound a little bit confusing and big. We're going to take you through the minutiae of each and every little one. So when you're designing anything, the reason why it's important to keep these 5 principles in mind is that it helps your design look their best, and it also helps you communicate whatever it is you're trying to tell your audience, you're trying to tell your customers. Whether that's, you're trying to close sales, whether that you're trying to host a sale, trying to get the word out there about an event, whether that's you're trying to generate leads, or you're just trying to increase your follower base on Instagram or LinkedIn, using these 5 principles will help you achieve that goal. Okay, let's get cracking. So the very, very first principle we're going to take you through is all about your color scheme. Now, your color scheme is so important because different colors evoke different emotions in the people viewing your design. So it's important to consider what values, what vibes you want your brand and your business to have before you decide on the color scheme of your brand or of your design. It's important to keep in mind that different colors evoke different feelings. So for example, an orange, a red, that's going to be a little bit more of an urgency sort of creator, and blue and green are going to evoke peaceful thoughts and peaceful feelings. So think about what you're trying to sell, how are you trying to sell it, what feeling are you trying to sell to your customers? Okay, so the next thing to keep in mind when you're considering the color scheme of your designs is using odd numbers. An odd number of colors in the design can help to add depth and visual interest to your designs whilst not letting your design get out of hand. If you use too many colors, it can make it a little bit chaotic and not look as professional. So for example, if you were going with a nude color scheme, which is all the rage right now, it's very trendy, it's very in, instead of picking every pink, brown, orange, sort of beigey color you come across, try to focus on a blush color, a brown color, and then maybe another neutral color like a beigey or a white or even a gray. The next thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about your color scheme is the shades of the colors you're using. Using different shades can add more visual depth and interest to your designs when you're looking to create it. So instead of adding a whole other color scheme to your current color scheme, rather stick with those 3 or the odd numbers of colors that you have, and then just use different shades of those colors. Okay, next thing to keep in mind with your color scheme is the base color that you choose. So your base color are the tones or tone that consistently show up in your social media posts, in your websites, etc. This is the color that you want your customers, your audience to associate with your brand. So once again, think about what does that color say to your audience. The last things to keep in mind with your color scheme, which is the first basic principle of design we're taking you through, is sometimes it's best to go black and white. Monochrome can make your designs look classy and sophisticated. It's also a great color scheme to use for professional documents like invoices or contracts in your business. Okay, so we've taken you through the very first principle of graphic design, color scheme. Now we're going to be taking you through the second most important principle in graphic design, which is your fonts, your font scheme. The first thing to keep in mind when we're talking about font scheme in your designs is choose an absolute maximum of 3 fonts. Preferably choose 1 or even 2, but please do not go over 3. The reason for this is because it just makes your design look very all over the place, very, very complicated, not very cohesive. Using 1 or 2, maximum 3 fonts, and then using a derivative of these fonts, via bolding or italicizing or spacing or sizing. This is a good way to create visual interest while still making your brand memorable. Your font scheme is just as important as your color scheme. You want your customers to recognize instantly who you are and what your brand is through your fonts and through your colors. Okay, so we've taken you through how many font sort of types you should choose when we're thinking about font scheme. Now we're going to talk about contrast in your fonts. So even if you stick to just 1 or 2 or maximum 3 fonts, sometimes you do need to add a little bit more depth, a little bit more visual interest to your designs. So when you need to do that, instead of adding more font types, just like with color, rather play around with italicizing or bolding or the spacing of your lines, the spacing of your letters. Also, you can use contrast to show a reader where to look first and what to pay attention to in your design. If you're trying to tell people that there's a sale, then you can make the sale text in that graphic, in that social media post far bigger, because that's the first thing you want people to associate. Okay, the third thing to keep in mind when we're thinking about your font scheme in your designs is the size of your font. So the reason why this is important is because the whole reason you have text on your designs is for people to read it. So make sure it's readable. Make sure that the actual size of your text isn't too small or sometimes even too big. That can also mess with people's ability to read it well. And then also remember to just keep in mind the space between your letters and the space between your lines. Okay, so we're still on font scheme. We're still talking about how to use font scheme to the best, to just leverage that best in your designs. The next thing we want to go through is the color of your fonts. So make sure that your brand's color scheme is used in your font scheme. Don't now suddenly bring in blues if your whole color scheme is a nude color scheme, but then also make sure that it's readable. So if you have a very sort of difficult to read color in your color scheme, maybe a very pastel blue or yellow, don't slap that on a white background and hope that people are going to pull out their glasses and read it. Don't make it more difficult for your customers to understand what you're saying. Okay, last thing to keep in mind when we're talking about your font scheme and how to best leverage this in your designs is space. Play with the space in your designs to show the reader where to look first, to show them what they should pay attention to. And then, as mentioned before, just make sure that the spacing between your letters isn't too big or too cramped. And then also make sure that the spacing between the lines of your text isn't too big or too small. All right, so we've taken you through color scheme. We've taken you through font scheme. Now we're taking you through the third important principle of graphic design, which is hierarchy. So hierarchy sounds like a little bit of a complex term. Basically, it's just about how the different elements of your design are placed and how they're arranged in an effective way. So the different elements are things like on this screen, the circles, the text, the little tick, everything that makes it one cohesive unit. The reason why hierarchy is important is because you're not just designing a social media post or a PDF or a flyer for fun, although you can. If you're designing it for your business, if you're designing it for a purpose, keep in mind that you want people to actually do something. You want them to pick up the phone and call you. You want people to go on your website and click on something. So hierarchy can help to show the reader what they need to do, what's the most important thing, what's the call to action here. All right, so we're going to take you through another 5 things to keep in mind when we're talking about hierarchy in our designs. The first is sizing. Usually size shows the reader what's the most important thing in your design. If you're hosting, an event or a podcast or an Ask Me Anything, and it's tomorrow, let's say, it's a time-sensitive thing. Instead of putting the details of what you're going through in the podcast or the event, you're going to rather put the date and the time, the biggest, or 1 day left. That will be the biggest thing in your text. So keep in mind size, play with that to show your audience what's the info you need to get here? What's the thing that you need to digest quickly here? Okay, still talking about hierarchy. We've gone through size. Now we're going to go through spacing. Separating the different things in your design can show the reader what to pay attention to and where to look first. If you put a couple of lines of text, squished there in the corner of a design, and you put a massive photo, a really gorgeous sort of engaging photo, you're telling the audience to look at the picture first and then look at the text. But if you put maybe a smaller picture and then you put your text really big, or if you put a picture and then your text is bold and is the main focal point, you're telling your reader to read the design. Also, an interesting note there is that for social media especially, if you're posting on different platforms, you kind of need to make use of these different elements differently. If you're posting on LinkedIn, maybe you're not going to make it, the picture the biggest thing in the world. Maybe you'll just make the text the biggest thing. But if you're posting on Instagram, you'll make the photo really large and then the text will be small, just because different people are looking for different things on different platforms. Okay, so we're still talking about hierarchy. We've taken you through size, we've taken you through spacing. Now we're going to take you through color. If you have a design where everything in your design is black or white, or is of the same color shade, same color tone, it can make it kind of difficult for the audience to understand what you're trying to say to me. It can make it more difficult to digest the information. If you play with color, like in these sort of infographic-y designs in front of you, if you play with color, it can make the audience understand what you're trying to get across way easier. Okay, next thing to keep in mind with hierarchy is your font choices. So your fonts can tell the audience a lot about what's most important, where should they look first, what should they read first. Once again, it also just makes it easier for the audience to digest what you're saying if you play with hierarchy and make the most important stuff biggest or bolder, and then make the second most important thing a little more of a thinner font and perhaps smaller. Last thing to keep in mind when we're talking about hierarchy in your designs is the positioning. The placing of the different elements of your design can tell a viewer a lot. If you have a logo in the corner of your design and you have, a beautiful design here in the center, what that's going to do is sort of tell the audience to subconsciously associate your brand with that graphic, with that ad, with that sale, with that tip, that trick, etc. However, if you have a post where your logo is front and center, what you're trying to do is push your brand. You're really trying to market and you're trying to advertise, and your viewer, your customer will get that. They will see that, oh, okay, this is an advert. And sometimes that's helpful. Sometimes you want to push the advertising side. Often, especially on social media, you don't really want to do that. You don't really want to make it look like you're just advertising. You want to add value and then subconsciously let them associate it with your brand. Okay, cool. We're a little bit more than halfway through. We've taken you through color scheme, we've taken you through font scheme, we've taken you through hierarchy. Now we're going to take you through the fourth design principle, which is size and scale. Once again, this may seem a little bit like, what are you talking about? So the size of your design can just make or break the quality of it, especially if you're designing in Canva. Reason being, if you use the wrong preset, if you use the wrong size designs, so for example, we took you through it in the beginning when we showed you Canva. If you're designing on an Instagram preset, but you want to post that to Facebook, or you're designing on a business card preset and you want to post that to, you want to maybe blow that up onto a signboard to put outside your shop, it's going to look very, 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 very fuzzy, very pixelated. So just make sure to keep in mind this whole size and scale thing. It can make or break your designs. You can have the most gorgeous thing. You can have spent so many hours on it, and then it can just get completely wrecked because you just didn't keep this in mind. So we're going to go through 3 things to keep in mind with your size and scale. The first is the use or the format, which is what I've briefly touched on already. What's the purpose of the design? Where is it going? Is it going on Facebook? Then use a Facebook preset in Canva. Is it going on Instagram? Is it going on the post side, or is it going on the story side? Is it going on an IGTV side? Is it going on a LinkedIn post? Is it going to be a business card? Is it going to be a poster, a flyer? Depending on what it is, use the preset that Canva gives you, or custom size it, just to make sure that it's not going to be blurry, it's not going to be fuzzy. Next thing to keep in mind with your size and your scale is the readability. Sometimes stuff can look fantastic on Canva. It can look amazing on your laptop screen or your phone screen, wherever you're designing. But then when you post it to social media or you print it out, it just looks like a nightmare. It's fuzzy, it's pixelated. Sometimes the colors change. So what you need to keep in mind there is just testing different fonts, different color schemes, and seeing and basically just trial and erroring it to see where does it not work out so well. So for example, one thing we've noticed for some of the stuff that we use Canva for, if you use open sans text as is and you post that to social media, especially if it's quite small text, you just cannot read it. So any open sans text you use, bold it. Don't just use it as is. Okay, next thing for size and scale, the last sort of tip we want to give you when you're thinking about size and scale is scale. Scale is all about the size of one element in your design in relation to everything else going in the design. Usually it's a good idea to make whatever's the most important thing in the design the biggest in relation to everything else. But you can also use scale to add visual interest and depth to your designs and to add a little bit more professionalism. So a good example is the Fizzin circles. We don't just have, the same size circle that looks quite unprofessional, it's not great. But then if you play with the different sizes and you play with outlines versus hard color, it just makes it look a lot more engaging and fun and professional. Okay, so we've taken you through color scheme, we've taken you through font scheme, we've taken you through hierarchy, we've taken you through size and scale. Now we're going through the last principle of graphic design, which is composition. Once again, a little bit of a big word. You might ask, what the heck does that mean? Composition simply just refers to the way that everything in your design is arranged. How does it all cohesively fit together? We're going to take you through 5 things to keep in mind when you're considering composition in your design. The first is spacing. Spacing can help show the relationship between different things in your design. So basically just group together things that have something to do with each other and don't group together things that do not have anything to do with each other. So a great example of this is a business card. If I was creating a business card for me at Fizzin, I wouldn't put on one side Dominique Binns, Fizzin, co-founder, and then my number randomly floating underneath there, and then my email address floating in the left corner, and then the website floating in another corner. What I would do is put, Dominique Binns, Fizzin, co-founder on one side, and then all my contact details together on one side. This helps people, once again, just digest info a lot easier, which is what you want them to do because you want to close sales. You don't want them to get stuck on nitty-gritty nonsense like that. Okay, so we've dealt with spacing when you're thinking about the arrangement of our designs. Now we're going to talk about white space. White space, dead space, negative space, there's lots of names for this. But basically it's just the space in your designs that don't have anything on it. This can just help your design look more professional. It can make it look cleaner and uncluttered. So play with dead space, play with negative space. Okay, another thing to keep in mind with your composition is contrast. Using different sizes, different colors, off-center layouts versus purely centered layouts. This can, once again, add visual interest to your design and also make your designs look a lot more professional. Sorry, I realized I skipped alignment. So we're actually on alignment. So aligning things in your design just helps your design to look, once again, more professional, and it also helps your reader to read whatever's on your design, or even to see, it can just be pictures on your design more clearly. As is displayed here, if you have things all over the place, your brain is sort of like, where am I looking? What am I reading? What am I supposed to do? But if things are clearly aligned, even if it's in little huddles, little groups, it's a lot easier to digest. Okay, moving on now to contrast. So as I said, contrast is just all about playing with the sizes, playing with the color scheme, playing with where you position things, playing with your alignment in order to just create a more visually interesting design. And then our last principle that we want to take you through with composition is all about repetition. Be consistent, guys. If you are using a certain color scheme, a certain look, a certain feel, stick with that. It's way, way, way more professional to be consistent, to be repetitive than it is to sort of play around and have for example, your social media feed looking like a mess. Or even if you have a PDF doc, maybe you're making a pitch to an investor or a pitch to a client. If you have a pitch deck that sort of changes its theme throughout, it's not going to look professional. Okay, guys, so we took you through 5 basic design principles. The first was color scheme, the second was font scheme, The third was hierarchy. The fourth was sizing and scale. And then this last one we took you through was composition. I hope that you found that easy to understand. I hope that you found that useful. We are now going to basically go through a live demo of a logo, building a logo and building a social media post so that you can understand how this theory can be related to an actual implementing and a practical design. All right, great.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, back to you.
Thanks so much, Dom. Yeah, that was super duper informative. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. So yeah, we're just gonna get ready for our live demo. Dom's going to be taking us through everything and building it. She's going to be picking somebody from the audience, asking you a bunch of questions, and we're pretty much just going to use this to show you how you can create a super simple logo or a super simple social media post using the free elements that Canva has to offer. Dom,
okay, great. Thanks, Kay. Awesome. So yes, as Kay said, I'm going to be picking somebody and I'm just going to ask you a couple questions about your business before we can get started, and then I'm going to build a logo for your business. Is there anyone here that their business is still in the idea stages? That's a lot easier to build a logo for, because if you already have a logo, you're going to compare it to your existing logo.
Hi, is it working?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I have this idea of a recycling business, and I'm doing more so recycling in the plastics industry. So I was just wondering about that.
Okay, great. So you want to start a recycling business. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's the vibe of your business? Have you thought about color scheme? Have you thought about the personality of what you want to communicate, what you want your business to be?
Yeah, not so much yet. I'm still in the early stages, but I think definitely green, like that recycling green colors. Definitely new, definitely just like fresh colors, and yeah, just something that hasn't been done before.
Okay, a tall order. All right, so you're happy with very eco-friendly colors. Do you like this preset green that Canva has? Or does this not really speak to you?
No, that looks good. I like it.
Okay, awesome. So as we suggested, try to keep your colors to a minimal. So we're just going to see if we can create something really great using this. I do think that I am going to bring in a third color for things like text, and that's probably going to be a sort of a gray, a dark gray slash black color. Just a general note, if you ever find yourself wanting to use black, this can even be for invoices, PDFs, all that kind of stuff. Instead of making it a full black like that, to make it look a little bit more professional and yeah, it just adds an air of professionalism. Don't make it hard black, make it a very dark gray. Okay, cool. So we're going to see what we can do with these colors. Thanks so much, Alexander, for giving us a little bit of insight into your business. Is there anything you know about logos in terms of, do you prefer word logos, word-centered logos? Do you prefer having an icon? Just as a general note for the audience, you get different logos called word marks. So that is where it's basically just text. If you think of perhaps even a Nike, even though it does have the little tick, or Krispy Kreme, or anything that's just text, and then a logo that has an icon is something like what we're looking like here. It has text and then it also has a little icon. So Alexander, do you have a preference for a word logo or a icon with words, or just an icon?
I'm definitely liking the icon alone.
Okay, great choice. All right. So I want to show you guys how we can use presets to our advantage, because it's totally fine if you're a little bit stressed about having to design something purely from scratch. That is definitely something that you need to build up to, and that you need to get a little bit used to. You need to get a little bit more confident in your skills before you're happy to do that. So let's have a look. If we just search recycling perhaps, or eco, we can see what comes up, and you can definitely use this for your, if you have a business in nails, you can search nails. If you have a business in makeup, you can search makeup. If you have a bakery business, you can just search the general industry. So unfortunately here we don't have really great selections, and as you can see, they're all pro. So this is maybe a little bit too segmented, a little bit too specific. Maybe we can search eco, a little bit more options, nothing that's really standing out to me, but nice, we do have some sort of free stuff here. So, you know, if you're not creative and you don't want to really design stuff from scratch, perhaps we would go in here, and we see it's pro, so that's not great. Sometimes Canva does do this where if it's multiple logos, then it looks like it's free on first sort of try, and then if you go in, see one of two, if you go in, it will be pro. Okay, but I see that this is free. So yeah, a lot of logos, sometimes if you want it to be a square logo or a circle logo, will have a little bit of a background. I don't recommend your logo having a background. I do recommend that you put it as a white background, just so that it's more versatile. You can use it on different designs. So here we've got this little bamboo, which is also a pro element. So I don't think that really speaks to what we're trying to do here. And these texts also, I don't think really fit in with what we have. Alexander, if you could tell us a little bit more. I know you said that it's very idea stages, but could you tell us about who is this catering to? Is this catering to, you know, upmarket? Is this catering to general? Just so we can think about what fonts are we going to use? What general look do we want? Is it fun? Is it what adjectives would you use to describe fun? Is it classy? Is it friendly?
Yeah, so I think I definitely say it's fun. It's definitely new. It's definitely trendy. It's more upmarket or up class, you can say. Yeah, so those are some adjectives I'd use.
Okay, cool. So we've got fun, we've got upmarket, and we've got, I think you said trendy. Okay, great. So yeah, I'm just putting this all here so that we're all aware of sort of the brief. All right, so fun, upmarket, trendy. That is a difficult combo because fun and upmarket are generally two different things. So I think I'm going to go after more of a fun, more of a modern look. So as I said, this does not speak to that at all. So we're going to delete that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're just going to search for a leaf. We're going to see, you know, what we have here. So as we went through earlier in your elements, if you search, you can search for anything, and then you will have photos. And then you will also have graphics. So graphics are different in that they're animated or they're drawn, whereas photos are, as you can imagine, real life photos. The tricky thing here is, as we can see, a lot of these are pro. Anything PNG, so PNG is where it's a graphic, but it has a transparent background. Those will be pro, which is a pity because PNGs are very, very versatile and very nice to use. So there's nothing really that stands out to me here. Also for a logo, a graphic is going to make a lot more sense. I don't think I've ever really seen a logo with a photo icon. Okay, so here we have a lot more options. I like this. I think these are a little bit too sort of feminine, a little bit too artsy for what we're trying to go for. Even this, but this seems a little bit just more mainstream. A little bit more modern. This could also work. We could definitely do something with that. Or I also see this is pro, so we're not going to use that. Yeah, okay, cool. So we've got two options. So we're going to see what we can do with this. Out of these two, I must say this seems a little bit sort of medical. So I don't think that that's going to fit in. So we're stuck with this. This is our final sort of option. All right. Now, remember, we've got our color scheme that we need to stick to. So as we showed you earlier, you can change the graphics in Canva to fit with your color scheme. So all we do is we come in here. Sometimes a graphic has multiple options. So, you know, if I chose blue, it's just the veins. But I'm going to choose the color scheme that we have. That doesn't look amazing. I think that looks better with the white veins. Okay, so we have our graphic, we have our icon. So that's step one done. We have the color scheme, we've implemented everything. Now let's go back to templates and see if we can find anything, even if it's not in the industry, the particular industry we're looking for. So something like this, a circle icon, always looks really great. Let's see if that will fit with what I have in mind. As I mentioned earlier, we're not going to be using a colored background because it's not very versatile and it's not going to be great to use on social media posts. All right, so we have a circle here. this text is obviously not in line with what we're trying to go after. We're trying to go after fun, but also upmarket. And like I said, I'm going to stick a little bit more with the fun brief because those two are quite difficult things to marry. All right, so we're looking at this. Alexander, do you have a name for your business?
Not exactly yet, but I was thinking something about in the lines of eco, maybe Plastech or something in the lines of eco hyphen something.
Okay, cool. Let's go with that Plastech.
Perfect.
All right. Okay, fantastic. All right, so this is definitely, leaning towards the more modern approach. The not so nice thing about this current text is, unlike this text was sort of going out of the circle, which adds a really nice effect. This isn't working that well. We can come here and play with letter spacing and line spacing, just to stretch it out, and sorry, not line spacing, letter spacing, to stretch it out. But as we mentioned, I specifically mentioned it with a font, sometimes it's not a great idea to stretch out your font because it can make it difficult to read. However, I think here it actually doesn't look that bad. Okay, now obviously this is a beer company, so from Alexander's comments, we know that this is a sort of an eco brand, even though he doesn't have too much of an idea. So maybe we're just going to put the words eco brand. I don't love that text, so I'm just going to try to play around with a second font type. Remember, we're trying to stick to as minimal fonts as possible. It's also a good idea to play with the contrasting in your types, as I mentioned. So this is quite a bold font, so let's try to find quite a light font. I know from experience that that's quite a light font. I think that works really nicely. And then maybe we'll say here something quite generic, like made for the people. Alexander, please just jump in at any moment if this isn't fitting with your business.
Okay, perfect.
Right, so you may be wondering, this is so cool, how do I get things to curve like this? You just come here to effects, and you can play with things like lift, you can play with things like, you can even make it neo, you can make it have this glitch effect. So there's a lot of different stuff you can do. And then down here, you can play with the curve of your text. So this is great. The curve isn't the problem, but what is the problem is the size of our text. Now, if we downsize it like that, the curve does become a problem. So we're just gonna even that out a little bit. There we go, that looks like it's great. All right. One thing that I am noting is that the circle I didn't get quite right yet. And also, it doesn't look fantastic with the bigger text and the smaller text. It's a little bit too many texts going on. So I'm just going to copy this here and see what it looks like if we just had something like that. And then remember, we need to bring our little logo in. So I'm going to Control-C, or you can right-click and click copy. And then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to Control-V, or you can right-click paste. And I'm going to see if this makes sense. Now, can anyone, I'm sure you're thinking in your head, this doesn't look quite right. Reason being, we're not playing with hierarchy here. It's weird that our icon is down here whilst our text is up here. That's just doesn't read very well. So once again, I'm going to copy. It's a good idea to copy your designs as you go along, because then you can always have a look at what you've done previously. It's not fun if you do something and then you realize, oh no, I preferred what I did previously, and then you have to redo it. So basically, I'm just going to swap these around and see if I like what's happening there. Remember, we just come here to effects, and we just play with the circle feature a little bit to get this right. Some of these things, are just trial and error, and that's okay. All right, so I think that this looks a lot better than that, for example, and definitely that. Although now looking at this is quite corporate, quite commercial. Depending on what Alexander wanted the brand to be, that could potentially work. And then remember, I mentioned very briefly about the black and playing with the different shades there. So this as plain black doesn't look great. It's a little bit too heavy. So I want to play around with this nice gray sort of tone that I found. And then the reason why I've changed the color scheme a little bit is because sometimes color in logo can look a little bit childish and not too commercial, not too professional. It is a good idea to have, if you insist on color in your logo, to have the color version and to have a sort of a blacked out version. So if Alexander, if you really, really wanted color, I would just come here and just change a couple of the things so that we do have the color that you wanted. And we're almost done with the logo, and then we're going to move on to a social media post for Plastech. Okay, cool. So that's really great. Alexander, can you tell us if you're happy with this?
Perfect. It looks awesome. Thank you.
Great. That's excellent. So as you can see, guys, using templates and perhaps altering them, editing them a little bit to fit in with your brand can be really quick, can be really easy, especially if you're not really a creative type and you don't have much experience. You can also just completely copy this and just type in your business's name if you even want it to be way more simpler. All right, great. So we have logos. Now we're going to come here and we're going to create an Instagram post for this business. So Alexander, could you tell us about, as you said, it's a very idea stage sort of thing that you have, but if you were going to launch this, would you be happy for us to create maybe a launch post that you would put even on your own social media just to say, hi network, hi guys, I'm starting this business called Plastech. Does that sound good?
Yeah, it sounds perfect.
Great. So we're going to be creating a social media post, a launch sort of social media post. So it's just a social media post that's saying, introducing Plastech. All right. So first things first, we're just going to copy this, Control-C, Control-V. That's the really cool thing. You can cross-pollinate stuff in Canva across to other presets because we definitely going to use this logo. And then I'm also going to just copy across the color version in case that's going to look a little bit better. All right, so I'm just trying to get that size proper. All right, great. So we have our logos ready. Now let's have a look at some templates we've got going on, because once again, we really want to show you how this can work for you if you have no experience and no creative inclination, but you do want to start creating your own content for social media or your own poster, etc. So there's no shame in using these presets. Work smarter, not harder, right? So we're looking here, obviously, sometimes there's not going to be direct stuff related to your brand. More I don't want to say mainstream, but more popular sort of business ideas, like clothing, etc., maybe even a travel sort of thing. It will be easier to find presets related to that stuff. But if you have a bit of an arbitrary brand and arbitrary industry, it can be a little bit more difficult. Okay, so I'm not seeing anything that's really jumping out at me. I am going to try searching for launch to see if anything pops up. Obviously, this is pro, but the really cool thing just to take note of is you can look at something that's pro and then just recreate it of your own accord. Okay, so I'm really liking this vibe, even though we can't cross it over, but we can copy this and just build it. So I'm going to show you how to build it. So first off, we need a background photo. So we come here to elements and we're going to type in, let's just type in eco. Let's just see what comes up, and we're going to come here to photos. All right, so yeah, once again, Alexander, you're not too sure about what this brand is doing or anything like that, but we're going to go with it and just tell us if we're heading in the right direction. Please cut in if you hate what we're doing with your business, if we're massacring it. But we're looking here, and we've got some nice sort of pots and just growing things here. We've got a nice tree over there. This is quite nice because it's quite a complex sort of photo. It's quite an evocative photo. So I think we're going to go with this. Alexander, at the end of the design, you can tell us if you're not happy with this. But coming back here to templates, remember we're trying to recreate this. So something I'm going to do just so it's easier. Sometimes, okay, no, it's not going to allow us to, but I'm going to show you a trick. If you Control Alt print screen, which is just what's it called? When you take a screenshot of your screen, there we go. Then we can do this. Obviously, don't actually use this as a design. It's going to come out so pixelated. You're not going to be able to read anything. But this is perfect for what we're trying to do now, which is just get a good understanding of this and try to replicate it. Okay, cool. So we have a good look. We've got our photo. Now, all this is comprised of is a big sort of rectangle and a little rectangle above it and a little rectangle below that. That's fantastic show of hierarchy in that Our launch now text is going to be massive, and then maybe we'll say something like plastic, an eco brand for the people, an eco brand by the people for the people, something like that. Once again, Alexander, please step in if what we're saying doesn't resonate with your business at all. I'm taking liberties because you don't really have a very, very, very clear, concrete idea yet. All right, guys, so there we have it. So we're just going to come here to elements, and we're going to type in shape. And we're going to come to graphics, and all these awesome shapes show up. As Kellen mentioned when she went through Canva, there's a heck of a lot of options. We're going to come here to this little square, and the cool thing about this dude is we can play with his shape, play with the thickness, etc. So just as a tip, once again, to show you guys how you can use free Canva, even if you want to use sort of a bit of more of a pro feel, we're just going to come here and we're literally going to do that. There we go. So we've got the exact size. We're going to Control C, we're going to delete that, and then we're going to come here and Control V. All right. Now we've got to work with these two little ones on the top. So I'm just going to Control C this. You could also just click here for a new one. And then I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to overlay this. So something that's a little bit irritating with the this is sometimes it doesn't let you go as small as you would like. But that's as close as we can get. That's pretty good. So Control C, delete, Control V, Control C, Control V, put it down here. All right, so we've got our very super uber basic structure going on. We've got our big square, we've got our two little squares, we've got our cool background photo. Now, this looks terrible. This is not what we're going to post. What we're going to do is we're going to play with the transparency tool. So you see this white square is a little bit transparent. So we're going to do that super quick, super easy. You just come here and you play around with how you want it to look. Obviously, we're going to change the color scheme. Then you'll notice here these two blocks at the top. If we zoom in a little, they're actually quite solid, but I am going to make them slightly transparent. A good idea just to remember is if you have two similar things to use the same numerical value to really make it look the same. All right, so now I'm going to play around with the color scheme. I'm going to see if a white is going to look a bit better for what we're trying to accomplish. Maybe it would be better to make this fully transparent. All right, I don't like that this is sort of sitting around in the corner there, so I think I'm gonna max it out. No, don't like that. So just remember, design is all about playing around. It's all about seeing what works and what doesn't. There will be some things in your head that you think are gonna look great that don't actually look great in real life. And with practice, you'll get better and better at it. All right, so there we have our basic sort of thing. Now all that's left to do is pop in the text. Something super important, if you put together text for your logo or for whatever, you have one thing that you've already created for your brand, stick to those same texts. Now don't go and use different texts in your social media posts. So we come here and we check, oh, this is an Anton sort of text. I'm actually just going to copy and paste this directly. And I'm going to bring it over here, and then I'm going to say launching soon. Okay. So we've got our text. Okay, cool. And then all that's left is to have the little stuff on the top. So once again, let's just go take, oh yeah, this is open sand. We just need to come here and say none. And then we're going to come here and say plastic at the top. And then we're going to copy paste this, and then we're going to say an eco brand for the people, perhaps. Okay, so now we've run into a bit of a problem, right? So this text is a little bit too big. So what we can do, there's sort of two things. Number one is we can stretch this out, which is going to be a little bit difficult. Like I mentioned earlier, sometimes it's difficult to play around with the thickness of these things. There we go. We could do that, or we could bring this back to the size that it was, and you see Canva brings up these little pink lines to help you with your general sizing. And then we could do that and then just extend this a little bit. Make it look like that. I personally prefer this. I must say this doesn't look great. I think it's a little bit too transparent. Okay, so there we have it. This sort of photo isn't working too well, I don't think. So I'm going to go back to the library of photos and check out what we have going on. Perhaps something like this is going to work out a little more, because then we're fitting in with the whole white color scheme. Maybe something like this would work. Okay, but this is a premium photo, so I shouldn't have picked that. As Cullen mentioned, you can buy individual photos if you're really in love with that photo and you really want to use it. We've got that. We could even use this leaf. Okay, cool. So we've got a couple options. Now, can anyone guess what's missing? Our little logo guy. So we're just going to come here, we're going to Control-C, and then we're just going to pop them in sort of here. Now, a problem is that we use this sort of little white background maker to push through the logo to make it look like it's breaking, the text is breaking the logo. So if something like this happens, something I would recommend is bringing up a circle, like a white circle, and putting it behind it, so that we can make it look like it's one cohesive unit. Center back. There we go. That actually looks really clean, looks quite nice and professional. So I don't think I really caught the fun vibe. But there we have it. So we have the white version. I think perhaps the white version would also look, so this badge effect, a circle logo, can really look nice and clean. Here, just because we've got that green leaf, maybe this color logo would actually look fantastic. So we're just going to delete. We're gonna pop this duty in here. We're gonna press just a shortcut for Canva. If you press C, a little circle pops up. So that can help with you playing with circles a lot. Center back. That positioning is awful. So let's just skedaddle it down here. These things pop up from Canva. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Okay, cool. So Alexander, is there any of these that you really like? Page 2, page 3, page 4?
Well, I think you did a really good job. I like them all.
Thank you.
I really like the image-centered photos, and I really like the ones with the plants in them.
So you like them all. Okay, great. So we've created 3 possible social media posts. Maybe what we could do is a carousel post on Instagram. All right, guys, so there you have it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for more videos. The link for the free downloadable is in the link description below.